But the beauty of silver is that you really want to get both of them in the system for maximum effect.
Right.
Both gold and silver. And it wasn't, at the time the New Hampshire bill was drawn up, no one was dealing in electronic silver. And now, at least James Turk's gold money is. He has gold silver. Silvermoney.com, right?
The last thing I want to cover with you today, and I really appreciate you taking your time and making yourself available. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I want to talk to you about the progressive, expanding electronic ticketing that's going on, both electronic parking meters and traffic lights. This is so disturbing to me about what's happening where, particularly when you're driving, you can be caught in the middle of an intersection, it can turn red, and there's no context for you. There's not even a remedy to fight an electronic ticket because it snaps in the moment and you don't see what's happening in a whole system's context. And I really feel that this is the beginning of the shutting down of a society when you have an ability for somebody to not be able to go in and take care of a remedy, and there's no context for these tickets. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, that's the interesting question. I don't know because I've never litigated one of these cases, but imagine the situation where you go across the line and for whatever reason, maybe, a dog runs in front of you or whatever.
Well, I've had it happen. I've had it happen to me where the thing went off and it snapped a picture.
Snap the picture, right. You had some explanation of what happened.
It was obvious what happened, but the electronic light didn't get that. It only got, in the moment, out of context, didn't see the car behind me, didn't see the car in front of me.
But you did.
Yes.
But you did. All right,
yes.
So this is what I'm wondering about. One comes into court, and here's this picture. Now, the picture is, as you say, just a frame of an instant in time.
Correct.
And of only what the camera was looking at.
Correct.
And here you're the witness who testifies, well, Judge, there was this, and there was this, and there was this, and there was this. You're the only witness. There's no witness against you. All right?
The witness against me is the snapshot of that instant in time out of context.
Yeah, but you see, here's the point about it. That instant in time out of context snapshot is not inconsistent with your testimony, is it? Because your testimony is talking about some things that aren't in that picture. It's not inconsistent with it. If I were a judge, I would simply say to the prosecutor, or whoever it is, the person standing up for the locality, I'd say, well, I have a witness who's uncontested who said the following things happened. Your evidence, Mr. Prosecutor, is not inconsistent with that, so I can't impeach this witness's credibility. And this witness's credibility is consistent with a not guilty determination, and so I'm not going to fine her. Go home.
What I've learned, I did a lot of research about this. This happened years ago, is that in almost every case where someone tries to contest an electronic ticket, it is always denied.
Well, what I wonder is two things. Number one, it depends on the facts of the case, especially if they had some other witness. Maybe there was somebody else in the car. Maybe there was someone in a car behind or on the street. Well, you get some other witness.
Usually people go alone, Edwin, to fight these things.
Well, there's your problem, all right? There's exactly a problem. I had this with my brother many years ago. It wasn't a camera. I was in the car with him. He gets into the middle of an intersection because there's a car in front of him turning left or whatever. There's some kind of a problem. The light changes. So now he's hanging in the middle of the intersection with a red light on. And so he drives to the other side of the intersection so he won't block it. Well, it just so happened there's a policeman coming down the other way, and he comes over and gives him a ticket. And I said, I saw all of this. I'm the witness. I'm going to go in and testify. You know what's going to happen when you get in there, Robs? I'm an attorney. Right? You know what's going to happen when you get in there.
What?
And he just kind of looked at me. Well, all right, I came all the way back up to Rhode Island from Virginia for this case, because I wasn't going to let this happen. I sat there all day in the traffic court. It gets to the end of the day, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The judge finally calls my brother's case. And he asks for the arresting officer, the ticketing officer, who wasn't there. The guy, of course, didn't show up. So he had to dismiss the case. I didn't even get to testify. But you know what he did, this judge? He lectured my brother about going through red lights, as if he were guilty. He couldn't find him guilty because the ticketing officer didn't show. And in Rhode Island, the ticketing officer isn't there. That's it.
Did your brother get a chance to speak?
No. He just stood up in front of the judge. The judge looked around and said, "Where's Officer so-and-so?" "Not here. Call in the hall." Somebody, bailiff went out and called in the hall. "Officer so-and-so didn't show up." So, "Well, I'm going to dismiss this case. But I want to tell you, Mr. Vieira, you can't drive through red lights going on like this for about 5 minutes." I said to myself, what sort of a jackass is this? This is your difficulty. At the lower levels in the judicial system, you have real morons on the bench.
I just wanted to know what you thought of the constitutionality of the electronic ticketing.
I think the constitutionality of the thing is rotten. If you have some contrary evidence, here's the whole point. If the only evidence is, here's a picture of your car, and it's in the intersection when the light is red, that's evidence from which someone could conclude that you crossed that line when the light was red, provided that they have some kind of data about how fast the camera shoots and so forth and so on. Right? So you could contest all of that business. But assumedly, that would be sufficient to say, yes, this person crossed that line when the light was red. And assuming that that's the law in that jurisdiction, if you cross that line when the light is red, that's a violation. End of discussion, because they have evidence. Now, if it turns out that you can say, well, I crossed that line when it was green, but I had to stop because this dog ran in front of me, that's sufficient evidence for you to be exonerated. If they say, we're not going to accept that evidence, or we're not going to listen to that evidence, let's put it that way, we're not going to listen to that evidence, forget about accepting it, we're not going to listen to it, we're going to take the camera and that's the end of it, that's a constitutional violation. Because clearly, the particular statute requires certain kinds of behavior. If you can prove that that behavior is not there, even though there's a camera that shows some instant in time, you can't be convicted. Now, what obviously they're doing is they're telling people, forget the evidence. We're collecting money out of this. This is a money-making operation.
That's my concern, is that I feel that the electronic ticketing is a mechanism of going after regular citizens on a very, very high level in a snapshot in time and using a police apparatus to make money for the state.
Yeah, it's just a ripoff. And what they know is that the average person is probably not going to be thinking of what kind of evidence he has to have to beat this charge. He's not going to be able to marshal it, even if he knows what it is. Is he going to go back to that area and try to find the person who was standing on the street corner? Is he going to come in with a lawyer to challenge this? And when that low-level judge in traffic court brushes him off and says, $50 fine, is he going to take that up to the district court level, circuit court level, whatever the appeals level is, and go through that process, as they say, de novo? Is he going to do that for the $50 fine, $100 fine? Probably not. So we have here a simple method of looting the public.
And to me, that's a form of lawlessness.
That's right. What I would do, and I can remember this from it was an Alfred Hitchcock television production many, many years ago. This man and his wife are driving through a rural town, and he gets run down by the police, and his car breaks, one of the wheels breaks, and in any event, they fine him, and he gets ripped off by the auto mechanic, the local auto mechanic, and the whole thing is one of these classic examples of, everyone's in it together. The local police chief is in it with the auto mechanic who's his cousin or whatever, and so forth and so on. And the thing ends with these two people driving out of town and laughing to each other. They've collected all this evidence. They've been working for the county prosecutor. And they're now taking all of this evidence of the corrupt actions in this little town back to the prosecutor so he can take all these people and prosecute them. And I think that's what you really need, is some county prosecutor who was actually interested in the public welfare coming into small-town USA where they're pulling this kind of stunt with the cameras and setting them up for a prosecution.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been listening to Edwin Vieira, who is the author of Pieces of Eight, the co-author of Crashmaker, the author of How to Dethrone the Imperial Judiciary and Constitutional Homeland Security. Give your website again, please.
Well, you can reach me through newswithviews.com.
And also the Gold Clause site.
The Gold Clause site is goldmoneybill.org. That's the statute. And if you want the book, it's $34.95. Edwin Vieira, check on money order, 52 Stonegate Court, Front Royal, Virginia.
Very, very interesting